Hey everyone, welcome to
What's
the
up?
video training for staff, video editing training for staff. I, along with Seth, will be leading this. I will be talking about a number of techniques in a software called Shotcut, which is a free software you can download online. Shotcut, SHOTCUT.
Yeah, and the stuff that we're going to be talking about today is kind of not the most it's stuff that is kind of like applicable to most editing softwares. So
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff, if you have a different editing software, you can probably do the same things. But we're going to go over file organization, how to bring in your video files into the program, how to cut your clips to the size that you want it, and then how to drag those in and sequence them into your timeline, which is going to ultimately be the video that you export at the end, and then work on some transitions within that, talk a little bit about sound, show you how to use text, and then do a little intro to some other filters. But it's all really basic stuff. This is, obviously open to like anyone in the library. So whatever, there's a variety of videos I'm sure that any of you all are interested in making. And hopefully this will give you a good intro into all the things that you would need just to do some basic editing. If you do have any questions, we'll have time at the end for questions, and then we can go back and look at other things or whatever you guys need to know.
And I will say, Frank and I have used this for our video editing workshop with teens, and the screen sharing on this program sometimes doesn't do audio that well in terms of sharing that out to people. So you'll see us editing audio, but you may not be able to hear it exactly.
So just imagine that you can hear it if you can't.
Just imagine the great audio from all your videos instead.
All right, y'all want to get started? Seth, let's get a screen share going.
Okay.
And then we'll get started.
So I'm going to start off with my Finder here on the Mac. It looks like this. On Windows, you use, I guess, like your Explorer to look at all your files and stuff. But for this, I've got two sets of clips. These are just old movies that are in the public domain. We edited down for our workshops. And then I also have a folder for music right here. But these are all in a folder. I just called it assets. I just keep them all in the same place because if you have your files all over the computer or like on a USB drive and you remove the USB while you're editing it, it kind of messes up the whole process. So keeping them all in the same place is usually the way I like to do it. So I'm going to stop sharing that and then go to the video editing program. All right. So this is Shotcut. Try to make it a little bigger. And right now, the main thing you want to do is start up a new project. So that's right here in this window, right in the middle of the screen. And I'm going to click Projects folder. That's going to decide where all this saves. And are you all able to see the window that just popped up? Okay. So right here, I just got the staff workshop folder for everything we're doing today. And usually the way I like to do it is that I have that asset folder I showed you all earlier, but I usually like to save my projects separate from that. So I'm just going to make one called Shotcut Project. And that's going to be where the file for this timeline and all the edits we made are. So I'm going to open that, and you put the name of whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'll say that you don't have to do exactly this way, but it is, like Seth said, really important to organize your files and know where they all are. Sometimes if you don't have them organized, or if you move some of them around and you try to open your project again, it won't be able to find the clips that you have unless they're in the same place. So it helps just to have everything together.
Yeah, and most of the videos that we make, you know, across the library and stuff. I mean, they're not exactly movies or anything like that. So sometimes it's just like you talking to the camera with an intro and outro on it. It's not always as complex as like this stuff, which is fine. Especially if you're like editing on a phone or something like that. But you click start. And so now we're able to start bringing in our clips, and then we can start editing everything. So over here, I'm going to click playlist, and this is going to be where you put all your clips. And if you have like the Finder open or something like that, you could just drag them straight in if you wanted to do that. But I think since I'm only screen sharing the program, it may not show me do it. So I'm going to click the plus button, and this should just open up. It should open up the import. Okay, well, looks like it's not doing that.
Try to open Finder and see if that happens.
All right, I'll reshare my screen to showing the whole screen instead of just the program so that we can see it. Okay, so now we got that. I'm gonna go to the Finder, go back to that asset folder with everything. And if you have like one folder with a bunch of folders inside of it, you can't just like click that, drag the one folder in. But if your folder has clips inside of it instead of maybe just like another folder, the playlist will import all that. So I'm just going to highlight these three, drag them in. And then it's just taking a second to load all that up. Okay, so I'll make this a little bigger. This window gives you a lot of information. It tells you the duration of each clip, when you added it, or I guess when it was originally created. So you can see these were created in January of 2021, when I think Frank and I first edited these for a workshop. And as you go down, we have audio in here and video clips, and the audio clips are just like songs right here, but they also have a cover image. So you just have to keep in mind what exactly those are, or sometimes the file extension on the end, MP3, tells you that's an audio file.
But you're basically out here, you got, as you can see where Seth is, this is your playlist. So this has all your clips that you've imported, audio and video. Then you've got your, what do you call this? Your clip, what's the
This
clip
right here
on the right where you can edit individual clips?
So I'd call this a preview window, but once you start actually putting things on the timeline and editing things all together, it shows you what that timeline view looks like. But for right here, you can just like double click one and then have it play in the preview window. So you can see what the clip's like before you even start deciding you're going to edit with it.
And then your timeline is going to be underneath.
Yeah,
right
it's all down here. So that's where we're going to be putting clips, putting them together, mixing audio in there and all that stuff.
All right, Seth, show us how to cut your clip and get it ready for the timeline.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's say I want to use this one. Takes a little while for this guy to start getting in the car. So what I want to do is maybe I just want this clip. I just want to have this one bit where this guy gets in the car. So as you can see, there's this little kind of like these bookends on it with this red frame around the whole timeline. That's basically the selection of the clip that's going to go in the timeline if I were to just drag it from here straight down to the timeline. What you can do is you can select in and out points and highlight your favorite part. So I'm going to click I for in, and you see that bookend stretches from the beginning of the clip to the playhead right where I want it. But you can also, you don't have to use I to use an in and out point. You can just drag it in and out that way, which may let you see it a little better. And then you can do the same with the out point, drag that in, or you can just click the O key and that'll give you an out. And so then, is there anything else to cover with that, do you think, Frank?
Is that clear to everybody how to cut your clip? Okay.
Okay,
you can either use the I and O button, or you can just drag those ends.
Or if you wanted to, you don't even have to use this preview window. You could just drag something straight from your playlist of all your raw footage. You could just drag that straight down onto the timeline and it'll just put the whole clip down there. And if you wanted to edit it there, you could do that. But this is just a way, maybe if you just like know there's a couple favorite parts of a clip and maybe there's a lot of junk that you didn't want to use, this is a way to kind of cleanly get those moments and put them down.
It's very clean.
So from there, you can click the preview window and you get this little miniature version and you can drag it down to the timeline. And so then that starts our first video track. And some of these clips don't have audio, but this one does. You can see this little waveform down underneath it.
Let's get a couple other clips in there.
Okay. I'm gonna
get an example of sequencing.
So I'm gonna get one from this, and then let's get one more clip. Let's say I really want this. I'm gonna quickly edit down some of that and bring it down over here. So we got 3 clips on the timeline, and you see where I placed it. It just sticks right there. But if I were to play through this, there are these little yellow gaps in between, and the screen just goes black, starts back up again, goes black. And so you just can click and drag and they magnetize to the next clip up whenever you start bringing them closer and closer. And so then whenever I play it that way, it plays seamlessly. Another thing you may notice actually is that, so these 2 movies, I mean, they're in the public domain. They're not exactly like, you know, Blu-ray 4K quality or whatever. So the aspect ratio on these 2 are different. There's this black frame around this second clip that I got. But when I put this video clip down, it just takes all the settings of that video clip and makes that the standard for the whole project. So if you have clips that have different frame rates, different aspect ratios, all that stuff, it's gonna, whatever clip you put on the timeline first is usually just gonna be the automatic standard for the project. So what I need to do is zoom in on this clip a little bit just to make it flush with the rest of the frame. And you do that in the filters tab, where originally we were at the playlist. You could just go over to filters, and we'll get into this a little bit later. This is kind of getting into effects and stuff, but I'm just going to use this size, position, and a rotate filter, and it has a lot of options. I'm just going to use the zoom and kind of bring that up until it is filling the whole frame. So that's all I'm going to show the filters for the moment, but you can see that when these play, they all fill up that frame.
All right. So that's how you put the clips in sequence. Now let's show us how, let's say you wanted to have a video transition. So you maybe wanted to have a crossfade in between clips that you brought in.
Definitely.
How do we do that, Seth?
So on here, the easiest way I found to do it is you just take a clip, and as I was showing you, like dragging it to bring it up to the edge of the next clip, what we can do is take one and kind of bring it into the next one. So it's like overlapping like that. And whenever I release my mouse button, you see this kind of cross happening right here. And if I play through it, it gives us a crossfade between those 2 clips, which is really cool. But in this program, this isn't the same for everything. But in this program, whenever, like, let's say that I'm like, oh, that's too much of a crossfade. I only wanted it to go for maybe half that time. If I were to drag the clip back out, it kind of makes this crossfade a permanent like video clip by itself. So if you want to change a crossfade in this one specifically, you need to like just undo it as soon as you do it so that you're not undoing a bunch of extra work that you did. But you just drag it in like that. And then while you're here, let's say maybe you're not a fan of just dissolving from one clip to the next. If you right click it and go to properties, or just the properties tab right here, it'll give you some options. That's not just a dissolve. You can do maybe, let's see, maybe you want a vertical matrix waterfall. And then it kind of gives you that fun little effect right there. So it gives you some options, and you can change like the softness of it. and all those things. Or if there's audio between the two clips, you can have a few options for how the audio will blend from one to the next. And this properties window also, if you, right now I just have this transition element selected in red, but if you select any clip, it'll bring up elements for all that. And so you can get into really specific stuff on this tab, but for our purposes, and especially if you're using a different editing program, you're not really going to need to know too much about this tab. The biggest thing I would say actually to know is just the speed right here. If you're like doing a time lapse or something like that, and you want to make the speed go 3 times, 4 times, however fast you want to do, you would do it right here. You can either type the number, or you can just arrow up and down. And the pitch compensation checkbox right here is if you just speed something up or slow it down, usually speeding up kind of gives it that chipmunk high pitch sound to your audio. So you can use pitch compensation to make sure that it keeps it at the same pitch, even though it's going much faster or slower. But that's about all you need to know, I think, for the properties tab.
Show us how to, if we wanted to fade out, what would you do?
Yeah, for sure. So a fade out is going to be one of the things that's under the filters tab that I showed y'all earlier, where we zoomed in on this clip. And in the filters tab, all you got to do is you select whatever clip you want to apply a filter to, and you press the plus button. And it starts you off in the kind of this like default favorites menu, which gives you most of the stuff you need. It lets you mess with the color, the contrast of the video. If you want to fade in or fade out the video and audio, it's there, which that's what we're going to do, but I'll show you a little more of what's here. The size, position, and rotates there. There's also a text tool here, but there's also a lot more complex like video filters and audio filters that will let you mess with like, you know, the way the video looks and all things like that and put weird effects on it. But let's put a fade out on the end of the video. And so if we watch it, you see it just kind of fades out like that. And on the timeline down here, you see this kind of this slanted line where it's a little bit darker on the right side. That's essentially just saying it is the peak brightness, or it's unfaded at the top of this clip, but then as time goes on, it fades down to black. And you can grab the circle up here at the top, and it lets you kind of fade those in and out. But also on the effects panel right here for the filters, you see duration, and you can just say how far out from the end of the clip you want it to play. Right now it's a second, but let's say that I wanted to do half a second. If you just type in, I guess, oh, I do not know actually how to type in half a second, I guess.
If you use that plus and minus, can you go up and down?
That's right, Frank. I was assuming it would be those up and down arrows like on the other ones, but yeah, you can do it like that.
And if you want to reset, you can hit that that reset button right there.
Mm-hmm. And you can save it, I believe, as a default setting for the duration.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you do it later down the road, there are a lot of presets you can set in this program, and it seems like this one lets you do it. But as you can see, I did 15 milliseconds, I guess, or maybe that's just 15 frames, but half a second, and the slanted line is a lot shorter, more condensed. You can see the fade, it's a lot more immediate. And also there's this little circle right here. If you go to the top of that fade, kind of diagonal line, you can drag it to be much shorter or longer, and you can control that right on the timeline, and you can see the number at the duration setting going up and down as I do it. But these are just 2 different ways for you to do it. You can either kind of like grab it and control it yourself this way, or if you have a really exact time that you're using for the rest of your video and you want to maintain a distinct duration for all your fades or whatever controls you do, you can do kind of the exact number up here. And you don't even have to apply the effect actually to be able to control it on the timeline. Each clip comes with this little circle up here that you can just click and drag. So if I wanted to do a fade in, I could just click and drag it there without even having to go through the whole select the clip, go to the filters, all that stuff.
Everybody clear on fade in, fade out, and video transitions? Cool. Next, let's talk about sound.
Okay.
Show us how to look at our audio file that comes with the video, the linked audio file.
Mhm.
And then let's talk about how to bring in, let's say we want music for our video. How would we do that?
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned, we have this one clip right here that has the audio attached to it already. And you don't see that waveform on the other two clips because those are both silent. But this one right here, let's say that maybe instead of a movie clip, this was a clip of you talking to the camera and explaining you're gonna do this craft today and explain how to make it. And you're doing this voiceover. And maybe you want your voiceover to continue into the clip, but you want the video to start showing the steps of how you make this craft. So if I were to like take this clip and drag it back, you see the audio kind of disappears and it's being edited alongside with it because they're linked. So if I undo that, what I can do is go right here, right click it, and under the more option here, there's detach audio. So if I do that, you see it breaks out that waveform. It's no longer on the video, and it's actually on this channel called A1 where all the videos are in V1. So A1 is just, it's an audio track, and you can have multiple video tracks and audio tracks for all that stuff. And you also see right here where I did a fade in on the video, that fade also carried over into the audio file when I broke that out. So now let's say that I think this clip's too long, but I want to keep the sound from it. I can just take that, drag back all these clips, and then if y'all were able to hear the sound, you would hear that the sound's going to play from the first video even after that video's off the screen. But so that's how you break sound off from whenever it's attached to the video. That's in iMovie, that's in Premiere Pro, that's in Final Cut. It may be called unlinking or detaching, but that's just how you get to manipulate a video's sound without having to edit the video alongside it or have it attached to it.
And you notice also with your layers down there, you can lock them if you don't want to make any changes. You can also mute it so you can hear you'd have to unlock it to mute it, but you can, and then you can hide it if it's a video with that eye right there.
Yeah, so like
if you have another video layer. Show us how to add another video layer.
Yeah, sure. So what you do in this program is
audio layer. Do audio layer. It's the same
yeah, mechanism. I guess we're going to be showing how to use this music up here next. So I'll add an audio layer. You just right click on this little head right here and you go to track operations, add audio track. So now we have a blank one down here that we can start just doing whatever with. If we wanted to drag one of these songs down though, you just drag it right there and you can see that white space for the runtime kind of filling up past it, just showing you a preview of how much it's going to take up on the timeline. And so now, if y'all are able to hear the sound, you clip from this video as well as this music play, and you can see the sound going all the way out past where our video is. So let's say that I wanted to make it where this sound only lasts as long as the video lasts. I'm going to, back here, you can either use a cut, which is right here on the scissors. So there's a couple ways you can do it. One is drag the playhead to wherever you want to go. Right click, split it playhead is under the right click menu. But you also see this letter S off to the side. There are a lot of shortcuts for different commands on here. And just the letter S, whenever you drag your playhead wherever you want to split something, whenever you have that clip selected, click S and then it splits it into two different clips.
And you can just delete what you don't want.
Yeah, you can delete it. So that's gone. And another way you can do it that's a little more hands-on, maybe less precise, but easier to use maybe, or more direct to use, is whenever you highlight, you see this little arrow pop up for my cursor, and the end of the track highlights in red. As long as it's not gonna, if this were the end of the song and I tried extending it and there's no material there to actually extend out to, it's not gonna let me do that. It's not gonna start looping it or anything. But since I cut in from the end of the song, I can then go back and track outward to add more of it back. So that's just another way that you can manipulate clips and kind of edit them without having to do the playhead, select the clip, click S. So there's a couple different ways for you to manipulate the audio and video clips like that.
All right, great. Now let's move on to text, and then
Okay.
we'll kind of show you how to put text on here, and it's also in the filters.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just do a few examples of
different filters.
yeah, just a couple filters that are available.
Okay.
But start out with text. Show us how to do that.
So you hit that plus again on the filters, and then that takes you back to your filters menu. We got this clip right here selected, and let's say it's the intro to my video. I want to put some text on the screen and let everybody know what they're watching. So I'm going to go down here. It's under the favorites tab again, because text is a really common thing to add to a video, and it's this text filter right here. So you click that, and you see in the preview window, you have this little text box fill up, and it has all these text controls, like you can bold something, italicize it, underline it. You can change the typeface, size. I'm going to go ahead and change the size, because when we tried this earlier, it was way too big. You can change the color. I'm going to go ahead and change the color since this is a black and white movie. I don't want it to be black text. And we can make it red. And then I'm just going to type. Oh, I got to go in and change all these properties after I have the text highlighted, I guess. But so we want everybody to know they're watching an awesome movie that we made. So we're going to write awesome movie. And then if we click off it, you can see that it's shrunk. It's the color red that we wanted. You also have text alignment here, so you can go left, right, just like any kind of text editor like Microsoft Word or Google Docs that you might use. Right here, there's also these other arrows are essentially tab. Like if you hit the tab key and it does like a bunch of spaces at once, it's like that. This kind of rewind looking command right here is, you can see that pop up saying it's going to collapse the toolbar. So you can focus more on the positioning of it and everything and not be as cluttered. The letter A right here opens up my typeface menu. So I can go through and pick whatever awesome font I want to use. Let's just go with that one. Oh, I didn't highlight all the clips. I only had the cursor on or all the words. I only had the cursor on the first word, so it only changed the typeface on the first word. So I'm going to go back here and try to remember which one I just picked.
And you guys see that you can move that text box if you select that circle in the middle of the box, and then of course change the size with the corners.
Yep. So then let's put it right there. And there's also presets for different types of text right here. Whereas like on iMovie or something like that, there's going to be all these different types of titles and text and everything you can put in there. This is just all under the text filter. So, you know, like a lower third is usually the standard for like when someone's being interviewed. At the lower third of the screen, they have like their name, you know, what qualification they have as to why you should be listening to them and stuff. Let's have this slide in from the bottom. So now I'm going to watch it. And so you can see over the course of the clip, I'm going to shrink it down and position it. But so you see it slides up, and there's also background colors you can do. You can select any color you want and change the opacity. Right now it's 0% opaque, so it's clear, but if you turn it up to maybe 50 or 100, you're going to get a little rectangle behind it. So if you wanted to have some kind of backdrop against the text to make it more visible, you can do that. And so right now we got this white backdrop. Let's do like 50%. And you can see it get a little bit more dim. So that's how you do text.
All right, now, everybody clear on the text? Pretty straightforward. Okay. Now, show us just a couple filters. Click another clip there
Okay.
and show us how you can apply other filters and maybe what an example of those would be.
Okay. So I clicked in the filter tab, I selected this last video clip right here, and I just went to the whole video menu because this is going to give you some stuff that gets you a little bit more specific, a little bit more out there, like blur effects if you wanted to have a video blurred out or maybe have it progressively blur over the course of it. You can do that. There's also chroma keying. This is what people use to use green screens. They select what color they want to key out and then replace with something else. So you can do that in here. Again, you can edit contrast. You can distort something. I'll just apply this glitch filter to it. And so once I click that, while the glitch is selected, you have all these different controls for it, like how high you want the blocks, these glitch blocks right here, how high you want those to be. I'm gonna make them kind of bigger. I'll make the shifts less intense so they're not super separate from where they originally were in the clip. You can turn up the color intensity, the frequency of the glitches you can do up or down. But so this is what it looks like now. It's a very short clip, so it's a bit difficult to see. But that's just another one of those video clips. And so over here in your filter menu, we have a fade out on the video and a glitch. So if I click the fade out, that option comes back up to change the duration of it. If I click glitch again, I can go back to start editing that. And then I'll do an audio filter just to show y'all what that menu looks like. You won't be able to hear it, but I'll show you what some of those audio filters.
You guys can hear the audio, right? Yeah, everybody can hear it.
Oh, never mind. I'm just used to, or I just remember that one workshop we did where people couldn't hear it. Okay, well, let's go here. We're going to add a filter, go to the audio menu, and you can balance the audio. You can compress it, delay it, invert it, noise gate. So there's ways to like repair maybe bad audio that was recorded using maybe a bad recorder or maybe has some air conditioning on it, or you can do basic kind of audio mixing and kind of music effects like reverb and things like that. I'll just do a pan filter, and this just lets you kind of select. It basically lets you pan left and right audio channels. This audio, I believe, is just single channel, so I'll do another audio filter too that we can actually demonstrate, like a let's do a delay filter. So this is just gonna kind of make the sound play once and then delay a little bit more. But you can see all these settings pop up, like feedback, delay, all these different ways you can manipulate it to actually change the filter. And then you can go through and you can kind of add a really strong delay to it. And it sounds totally different. So those are some of the video and audio filters you can mess with.
All right. Everybody, that seemed pretty clear to everybody. So this is all we had planned to show you. These are all the basics of video editing. What do you guys have any questions? So this all looks good to you?
You guys also, you can ask questions about different editing programs you may have and how to use some of these in those. If
you have any questions,
about those.
Which it seems like you don't right now, but if you ever run into any problems editing in the future, There, of course, you all probably know there are tutorials for everything on every software on YouTube. But also feel free to send me an email if you ever have any specific questions about something, or there's a quick fix we can help you with. I'll let you know. But if not, then that's it. Thanks for hanging out for this whole thing. All right.
All right. Yeah, thanks for coming and watching the workshop, everybody.
All right. You all have a great day. Wait, does anyone say anything? Oh, okay. Only thanks here in the chat. All right. You're welcome. See y'all later.
Goodness. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.